Hello again. We are in the framework of the technical English course in this program related to the Basic Education program, the bachelor degree program. Now, we will continue by mentioning and defining. Remember, this segment is for us to define and for us to remember some conceptions, especially related to definitions with respect to words that compound sentences in English. Now we will continue with a very important word in the sentence, which is related to how things are done. Usually, this word will refer to how things are done, how actions are done in English, but not only related to how things are done, because other conceptions expressed by these words will have to do with places, with time, and other different circumstances. Negation, the fact that we carry out statements or affirm some things, well, etc. And of course, you will know what words I'm referring to. I'm referring to the adverbs. So let's continue with adverbs. Okay, adverbs are words. Many of them, actually most of them, can be taken from other existing terms, which are adjectives. And those are especially the ones referring to how things are done in English. For example, loud, and by making the addition of this, we have the adverb, right? This is an adjective and this is an adverb. And by placing this ending, we are going to indicate how things are done, how a specific action is carried out. For example, free. And then by adding this freely, we are going to have the adverb too. Another one, slow. Slowly. Quick. Quickly. Now we have adverbs there. Those adverbs are going to modify exactly the verb. They refer essentially to the verb because they know on how things are done. They tell us on how things are done in English. Well, I'm going to give you some examples. Sarah spoke loudly during the conference. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. Sorry. Sarah spoke loudly during the conference. We can find that this refers to a circumstance, and that circumstance is how. So it refers to the verb. We can actually ask a question starting from this, which can be, how did Sarah speak during the conference? Okay? How is the key term in that case, because it finds out the way and the manner things are done. I can give you another example. Michael reads slowly. Michael is a slow reader. It means that Michael reads slowly. Slowly, one more time, talks about the verb. It tells us on how the action is done. Michael reads slowly. And the question we could ask is this: How does Michael read? It tells us on how the action is done. Okay, it's easy, it's simple. There is one thing I need you to take into account, especially when we are talking about perception verbs. Those perception verbs are the ones essentially having to do with our senses, the ones having to do with our sight, the touch, sensations we have, etc. We need to be very careful because with those verbs, we don't use exactly adverbs. We refer to the action in terms of adjectives. And that is something you need to remember because many people have the trend to use adverbs when working with those verbs, and that is not correct. Actually, we have to refer to them in terms of adjectives, not in terms of adverbs. For example, those verbs are look, sound, feel, taste. For example, look, sound, feel, taste. I'm going to give you corresponding examples for those verbs. This apartment looks nice. Okay? Nice is related to the verb, but also related to the apartment. This is not the verb to be. We need to remember too that adjectives essentially appear in the sentences when they are linked to the noun by the verb to be, or starting from the verb to be. So this is not to be. So many of you, or some of you, for example, will ask, teacher, but how come? How is it that this is related to the verb and related to the noun to, not using to be, but using another verb, and anyway, in spite of that, we can use an adjective and not an adverb, especially because that constitutes an exception. As I told you, nice, which is an adjective, is related to the verb, and this is an adjective and not an adverb. This apartment looks nice. Sound, for example. That idea sounds perfect. This can be said, for example, when you receive an invitation. Somebody makes an invitation to you, okay? Let's say, for example, hey, you guys, would you like to have some pizza tonight? Pizza, okay, great, perfect. That idea sounds perfect. Sound, that is a perception verb, okay? Anyway, we are not going to use an adverb. We are not going to say that idea sounds perfectly, but that idea sounds perfect. Taking into account that this refers to, besides the verb, the noun too. So, verbs in that regard are going to be accompanied by adjectives and not adverbs. Another one, for example, feel. She feels tired. She feels tired. I'm going to use another example. The sofa feels soft. This is one perception. Maybe we can say over here, this is not my perception. This is her perception. But what about, for example, when I perceive? What about when I have the sensation that something has a specific, characteristic? So the sofa feels, but anyway, this is not the verb to be. This is another verb. So teacher, does an adverb have to come here? No, not an adverb, because this is a perception verb. So soft is an adjective in that case. The sofa feels soft. Taste. For example, another one. This soup tastes delicious. This soup tastes good. Some people will have the common trend to say, this soup tastes well. No, it's not well. One more time because of that reason. Not an adverb, but an adjective. This soup tastes good. This soup tastes delicious. And not deliciously. Okay? There is another one, which is smell. Another perception verb, which is smell. Okay? And we can say something like this. Fresh bread smells wonderful. And one more time, not wonderfully, because this is a perception verb. Fresh bread smells wonderful. So it is for you to take into account that when using those verbs, adjectives are the ones saying how things happen, and not adverbs taken into account as the way for you to say how things are done. Okay? Well, this is everything related to adverbs. As I have said, well, something I would like to mention too is the fact that there are some adverbs that are irregular. So they escape to any convention, any ending that can be added to the word, the original one we have, for example, adjectives, in order for you to make them. So they escape to any convention for them to be constructed. Those are, for example, good, and the corresponding adverb is well. This that doesn't undergo any change. Hard, we say hard. Fast, and we say fast. So we have in these two cases the same word for you to refer both to the adjective and the adverbs. And in this case we can find a very irregular way for you to make them. Okay, this is good and well. Right? Okay, this is everything related to adverbs. Well, another thing I would actually refer to in terms of adverbs is the fact that some of them won't be just words for you to indicate the manner or the way things are done. Some of them will refer also to places, will refer also to time and other circumstances. For example, I'm going to do it over there. I'm going to take this off. Okay, look at this. Some other adverbs are, for example, tomorrow. Okay, it answers the question when. I will travel to Mexico City tomorrow. This is an adverb, okay? It doesn't refer to how things are done, but to when things are done. In this case, when this action will be done. The action related to traveling to Mexico City, right? Another one. The supermarket is there. It doesn't answer the question how, it doesn't answer the question when, but it answers the question where. So the supermarket is there. Well, there are also some examples related to adverbs. Okay, now I think everything related to adverbs is clear. We will continue with the next word, and this is going to constitute our end in our class today. We will continue with more words next week, but today we're going to finish by talking about pronouns. So let's continue with pronouns. Okay, pronouns. Pronouns are words, essentially words, that can be used instead of nouns. Words that can perfectly refer to and replace a noun. Essentially, when we talk about pronouns, we always understand and always associate the idea with personal pronouns. The ones that constitute subject pronouns. Let's say, for example, I, you, she, he, etc. But those aren't the only pronouns. So we're going to remember some of them. We're going to indicate what the ones are, well, the most representative ones. And we have, for example, personal subject pronouns. Okay, they are exactly what we know. I, you, she, he, it, we, and they. Let me do it better a little bit here. Let me write it better. We and they, right? I, you, she, he, it, we, and they. These pronouns refer to who does the action. We had already seen at the beginning of our presentation that subjects are, and the subject in general is who does the action. So these subject pronouns are exactly who do the action in English sentences. For example, I live in Medellin. She works on weekends, etc. This is a pronoun and this is a pronoun. By the way, all the ideas related to substances, places, concrete ideas, feelings, etc. can be reduced and are actually reduced to any pronoun over there. So here we have everything in terms of nouns, but in a summarized form. If we say, for example, my sister is summarized by she, because she is my sister is she. If I say, for example, my father and I, this is we. If we refer to love is it. And if we refer to countries in South America are they. So that is for you to understand that everything in terms of ideas, places, etc. is reduced to one of the existing personal subject pronouns. Okay? Well, as we see here, they refer to people who do actions. But pronouns can also refer to people who receive the actions. So they can also be object pronouns. And the corresponding object pronouns are those are personal object pronouns. We have me. Look, we have you, her, him, it, us, and finally them. So how do they work in sentences? How do they work? Sometimes I have seen even in people, and let me tell you something, even in teachers that have a certain amount of time teaching the language, I have seen some trends having to do with the fact of using personal pronouns, subject pronouns, in terms and instead of object pronouns. And this is really, really something that needs revision, okay? It needs revision. Actually, object pronouns will refer to the person who receives the action mentioned by the verb. So, for example, I live in Medellin, but Maria loves me. Maria loves me, and not Maria loves I. Of course not. That is incorrect. Maria loves me because I am the one who receives the action done by Maria. In this case, the action related to loving. Maria loves me. I like her. I like her and not I like she, right? Because this is the one related to the person who receives that action. Okay? I like her. I'm going to give the last example. Mr. Brown helped us. Mr. Brown helped us and not helped we. Okay? Because we are the ones receiving this action done by him, by Mr. Brown. Okay? So these are the personal pronouns related to objects. Object pronouns. Subject pronouns and object pronouns. We also need to take into account that in terms of doing an action that falls on a person, we have a special circumstance in which we do and we receive. The fact that I do and I receive. The fact that you do and you receive. The fact that she does and she receives. So those are reflexive pronouns. So they accomplish the same function that object pronouns accomplish, but with the difference that they have to be used when the person does and the same person receives the action. They are myself, yourself, herself, himself, itself, ourselves, and themselves. I didn't write a few minutes ago the other you, the one having to do with plural, but I'm going to write it here, okay, because it is different. Here, for example, we are not going to find any difference with respect to the subject pronouns when I'm talking about the object pronouns, but here we do find a difference. So for you, in plural, is yourselves. This is for, I'm going to write it here, the plural reflexive pronoun, okay? I'm going to give an example. I looked at myself at the mirror. I looked at myself at the mirror, okay? The fact that I did and I received. Or when I say, for example, she caught herself. She caught herself. She had an accident. Well, of course, it wasn't an intention, but she did an action and she was the one who was affected by doing that action. So she did and she received, and that is why we need to use a reflexive pronoun. She caught herself. Okay, those are reflexive pronouns. We also have other pronouns. We have the possessive pronouns. And those are mine, yours, hers, his. This is not usual. Okay, some people say it, but this is not exactly usual in English. Ours. And we say theirs. Okay? These pronouns, as all the other pronouns, replace nouns, replace some references we have already made in the past. And in order for you not to repeat the word, for example, I'm going to place an example. This is your car and this is mine. So in order to not use the word car again, I'm saying this is your car and this is my car. I say this is your car and this is mine. Mine in that case refers to the whole structure, my car. And we use mine, which replaces my car. I'm going to write the example. This is your car and that one is mine. Okay? And that is the way pronouns work. We also have other pronouns which are indefinite pronouns. I'm just going to refer to some of them. Those are those constitute a very high amount of pronouns, but I'm going to refer to some of them. I'm going to take this off. Okay, indefinite pronouns. The ones that refer to things. The ones that refer to things. Okay? Those are something, nothing, anything, and everything. Something, nothing, anything, and everything. We will also have the ones corresponding to people, the ones corresponding to places, but I'm going to go into depth with just this at the moment, okay? We are about to finish our session tonight. Things, something, nothing, anything, everything. Remember, something will be used in affirmative sentences. There is something on the floor. We don't know exactly what the person is referring to, but the person says there is something on the floor. Something. It refers to a book, a marker, a cell phone, whatever, that cannot be distinguished at the moment. Okay, for the reasons that exist at the moment. That's not the problem. That's not the point. There is something on the floor that replaces whatever we can and we want to refer to. There is something on the floor. In affirmative sentences, we will use something. Negative sentences, negative ideas can be expressed in two possible forms. There isn't anything on the floor. Look, the fact that nothing is over there. For you to be able to use anything, the sentence, the structure of the sentence has to be negative itself. There isn't anything on the floor, which is also equivalent to there is nothing on the floor. You will listen to people in many English-speaking countries, and I can tell you that because I have lived that experience. I taught English in Trinidad and Tobago, and there are people over there that say, there isn't nothing. There isn't nothing. And they attach the sentences, those, special emphasis. That special emphasis is attached and given by people, but this is not correct, grammatically speaking. Because when using nothing, the sentence has to be equivalent to originally and initially an affirmative sentence. There is, of course, there is, but the general connotation that the sentence will have at the end when you utter it is negative. So you say, there is nothing on the floor. There is nothing on the floor, which is the same as there isn't anything on the floor. In questions, we will also use anything. Is there anything on the floor? Okay, is there anything on the floor? In questions, when you have when you don't have, rather, the intention of doubting about the existence of things somewhere, but you want to ask about other things, in that case, you can use something in questions. Let me tell you something. Would you like something to drink? When I'm given that question, when that question is asked to me, would you like something to drink? The person is not actually hesitating or doubting on the existence of the thing. The thing is over there, indeed. The question that person asks is if I want that, if I actually would like that. So, in that case, taking that into account, in the context of special invitations, or any other question that doesn't have the intention of doubting about the existence of the thing somewhere, we can ask, would you like something? And we can ask the question starting from something and not with anything. Anything over there actually is not correct. And finally, everything can be used in whatever the sentence is. Affirmatives, negatives, etc. I have everything with me. I have the markers, I have my book, my dictionary, I have the eraser. Well, actually, I have everything with me. This is something having to do with how, this is a sentence having to do with how to use everything in a sentence. Actually, it could be a negative sentence. You could also say, I don't have everything. Or, do you have everything? So in that case, this is the way indefinite pronouns work. These are the ones related to things, but according to what I told you, there are some related to people and related to places. We are not going to go into that at this moment, okay? Well, once more, thank you very much for your attention, and this is everything in our session today. Okay? See you in our next session and in our next encounter. God bless you.